Topping today's news, yet another person operating a motorcycle loses their life in a traffic fatality. The Minister of Economic Affairs providing clarity on the European Union tax haven blacklisting. Prime Minister Davis, along with other CARICOM leaders, still in talks with Canada on a number of major issues. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News, and it is a pleasure to have you join us. The Royal Bahamas Police Force's Traffic Division is again tasked with investigating another traffic fatality here in the capital, which occurred shortly after 12 this morning. This fatality comes on the heels of a double traffic fatality here in the capital on Monday, sometime around 2 a.m., that claimed the lives of a male motorcyclist and one of his female passengers while on East Street South, and a fatality on Andros around the same time on Monday morning that claimed the life of a 29-year-old American male from Tallahassee, Florida. This latest fatality unfolded at the junction of Carmichael Road West and Golden Isles Road, involving a Mack truck and a motorcyclist operating a Yamaha motorcycle. The victim is believed to be in his mid-20s.
As a result of that collision, the motorcyclist was pinned under the Mack truck. He received serious injuries. EMS responded to the scene and pronounced the body lifeless. As a result of this crash, it marks the 45th traffic fatality for this year, and the second traffic fatality involving a motorcyclist within days.
That is officer in charge of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Traffic Division, Chief Superintendent David Lockhart, who spoke with the media at the double traffic fatality on Monday that also involved a Yamaha motorcycle. Chief Superintendent Lockhart again asking motorists and motorcyclists to adhere to road traffic rules for your own safety.
The police want to emphasize to all motorcycle riders to ride with caution and care, and to ensure when traveling at night that you have headlights, that you have on highly visible clothes, and that you're wearing a helmet, and that you're obeying all the traffic rules and regulation of the Bahamas. It is too early in the investigation to determine the cause of this crash. We will continue to investigate. We're asking anyone who is in this area that may have seen this crash to call the traffic division at 397-8050.
Meanwhile, a police officer from the mobile unit also suffered an accident on Wednesday afternoon while riding his motorcycle on Blue Hill Road South. The video of him went viral. At last reports, the officer was listed in serious condition at Doctors Hospital. Minister of Economic Affairs Senator Michael Halkitis sought to bring some clarity as to why the Bahamas remains on the European Union's blacklist of non-cooperative jurisdictions for tax purposes, as was revealed by the Ministry of Finance on Tuesday. At this week's Office of the Prime Minister's press briefing, Senator Halkitis explains the latest developments of the Bahamas standing with international financial institutions.
And at that point, we will be able to give a report to that forum on the things that we have done. And we are cautiously optimistic that the steps will then be taken for them to deem us compliant. And following that, when the EU has their next meeting, we are looking forward to be able to have a favorable outcome from them. And so what it is that not that the Bahamas has not taken these steps, it's that the Forum on Harmful Tax Practices makes an assessment and the EU takes into account their assessment. So the EU met first. They do not have the benefit of the information that we will give to the Forum next week. We met with them before and we made that point that, listen, the Forum on Harmful Tax Practice meeting is the week of the 23rd of October. Can you wait? No, our meeting is now.
The OECD's Forum on Harmful Tax Practices will hold a meeting next week, which will have a delegation from the Ministry of Finance in attendance. The Economic Affairs Minister goes on to suggest that the determining of which countries are on or not on, or which countries are compliant or not compliant, should not be left up to either the OECD or the European Union, but should be the responsibility of the United Nations, suggesting that they would be an independent arbitrator.
We do not think that jurisdictions who are in competition with us and other jurisdictions in terms of financial services should be the judge and the jury of who's being compliant in terms of their tax standards. As a matter of fact, there's an initiative, there should have been a meeting on this coming Monday in Barbados to discuss that very issue. Unfortunately, that meeting has been postponed, but there is momentum building in the region, in what we call the global south, in certain places in Africa, and the east, that we need to change this calculation, who determines who is compliant from non-compliant. That's gaining momentum. We want to see it go to the UN, who has no interest in competing for financial services.
Despite the latest setback in the country's mission to getting off the European Union's blacklist, Senator Michael Halkitis remains steadfast in his belief that the Bahamas government is doing everything in its power to be compliant.
We have taken into account the issues that they raised, even though we do not think that they should have arisen to the point of being non-compliant, but that's their process. We've made the changes that they recommended in terms of amendments to the CESRA legislation, which is substance reporting legislation, migrating information to a new portal, etc. It's a matter of scheduling. We have not been standing still. We have done a lot of work, and we are optimistic for a positive outcome. We don't agree with the process, but as it stands, that is what we have to react to.
That was Minister of Economic Affairs, Senator Michael Halkitis, speaking on the Bahamas' efforts to be removed from the European Union's blacklist for tax havens. The first procurement report of the Davis administration was released on Sunday and has received pointed criticism from the official opposition, among others, concerning certain information found lacking in that report, particularly the lack of reporting of any awarded contracts in the Davis administration's first year in government. Minister of Economic Affairs, Senator Michael Halkitis, responding to questions of the opposition, pointing out that the report also lacks any information on contracts awarded by the Ministry of Transport.
I don't have any response. All right. The contracts that were awarded on the system, they will continue to be updated. We are complying with the legislation, but just as we have with the this whole EU blacklisting and thing, it seems as if some people are these goalposts continue to be moved. We continue to comply. We continue to train, provide the information. The public will have the benefit of it. We don't expect certain quarters ever to be satisfied. All right? So I don't have much to say other than that.
The Minister of Economic Affairs goes on to explain that it was a process for the government to reach the stage that it is at now, to where procurement reporting will be more consistent and available to the Bahamian people. He explains that it was a matter of preparing staff as well as coordinating with other agencies.
It took some time to get to this point, and as I said, when I spoke a week before last, it was a matter of making sure we put in place the proper, first of all, the staffing, the procurement board, the chief procurement officer, training of all the officers and all of the government agencies, so that we can get to this point where the reporting is done. There are some agencies, for example, who still have their own individual procurement processes. They are following the law. They have to follow the law in terms of the bidding and the tenders committee, etc., and those will eventually be integrated into the central portal. But very happy to get to this point that many of you have had questions on over the past few months.
Financial Secretary Simon Wilson spoke earlier this week concerning the release of the procurement report, echoing similar sentiments as Senator Halkitis, explaining that after overcoming issues with an insufficient online reporting portal and receiving information from the different government agencies as it concerns awarded contracts, it is expected that there should be more consistent reporting going forward. Prime Minister Philip Davis, along with Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell, as well as other leaders of CARICOM member countries, attending a Canada-CARICOM summit, symbolizing a renewed strategic partnership. The summit focused on four main themes, those being climate change and resilience, access to finance, regional security, as well as trade and investment relations. The first day of the summit, though, however, particularly focused on the deteriorating situation in Haiti, which Canada remains a prominent international ally to CARICOM in that matter. The Bahamas reiterating support for Haiti and advocating for a Haitian-led solution with the assistance of CARICOM and other international partners. The Bahamas reaffirms support to the CARICOM Eminent Person Group, made up of former Prime Ministers Perry Christie, former Prime Minister of Jamaica Bruce Golding, and former Prime Minister of St. Lucia Dr. Kenny D. Anthony, who returned to Haiti at the end of this month in an ongoing effort to assist Haiti in holding free, fair elections and looking for a long-term solution for stability. Also taking place on the first day of the summit, Prime Minister Philip Davis continued to advocate for the country, bringing awareness to the Bahamas' vulnerability to climate disasters in the global conversation on climate change. And finally, in this segment, the Organization of American States, OAS, is in the second day of its Cybersecurity Symposium being hosted here in the Bahamas at Bahama Convention Center. The OAS, in partnership with the Bahamas' National Computer Incident Response Team, or CERT, seeks to provide training, exchange of information, as well as raise awareness about cybersecurity in the region. Minister of National Security Wayne Munro shared the following comments with the participants.
Cybersecurity is an integral element of national security, and it's particularly important to us that in our administration's blueprint for change, the Davis administration have identified critical initiatives to build cybersecurity capacity and capabilities in this country, mainly with the establishment of the National CERT, digital forensic labs, and security operations centers at our defense agencies, and of course, implementation of the National Cybersecurity Strategy. Our National Cybersecurity Strategy is a horizontal strategy which requires the involvement of all contributing stakeholders in the Bahamas: public sector, both civil, civilian, and defense, essential service providers, the judiciary and legislators, sectoral entrepreneurs, and academia. Our vision of the strategy is the Bahamas is a secure and trusted digital society.
The symposium over the last 2 days has provided representatives from various entities the opportunity to showcase their projects, products, and services while engaging with other cybersecurity experts and leaders. Speaking about its role in enhancing cybersecurity throughout the region and the Bahamas, Bahamian and acting National Cyber Director of the U.S. White House, Kemba Walden.
I'm committed to making sure that we work together across the government, industry, and people around the world to strengthen those cyber foundations at the outset. The President's strategic vision for cyberspace is one where defensibility, resilience, and a stalwart commitment to our values will enable our boldest and most impactful ambitions. We want to build a world where defenders, not attackers, have all of the advantages. I agree with Minister Munro. We can develop technical systems that are secure by design, where security is intrinsically baked in, not later bolted on. And we can make our digital world resilient, so that even if our defenses fail, and sometimes they will, we avert catastrophe, we quickly recover, and we don't endure lasting systemic effects.
The two-day conference is the 9th edition and is being held under the theme, Navigating the Future, Embracing Emerging Tech and Enabling Cyber Resilience. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.